This video is brought to you by BizWire TV, where your news is made.
I'm responsible for the operations for Control Print in the UK. My background is actually here from the stock exchange at the RNS for about 11 years and a few months. Been in Control Print for about 3 years now. Today I'm going to talk to you a bit about what we have found out from your peers on what they're saying about the practices that they're having for the annual report process. We're not the experts, we just provide the engine through which you guys actually collaborate with guys like Gather in producing the annual report, telling your story at the end of it. So who we are, just very briefly, we've been in operation for 18 years, headquartered in Stockholm, been in the UK for approximately 5 years now. We have over 300 plus, well, last time I checked, about 400 corporates who are using us, and these vary from stock exchange listed clients, NASDAQ, to AIM trading clients also, and over 4,000 plus users at any given reporting season in our system. Control Print in a nutshell is used for any design document that requires a nice glossy output. So not just your regulatory documents and reports, but anything varying from the sustainability report, anything to promotional books, research information, etc. Now, we have been conducting a survey, which was pre the Brexit vote, and we decided to talk to several of our corporates who, not all of them who will be using Control Print, but those who might be looking at how they conduct their processes for the annual report production. And out of this, we literally looked at about 300 companies. The survey is still ongoing at the moment, so these are sort of interim results. And thus far, we had about 50 corporates responding. And as you can see there, over 80% is actually listed public companies, and quite large in terms of size for those who are responding. So over 70% have approximately 1,000 plus employees in the organizations. And one of the questions we thought we'd ask them is, do they set goals for the annual report? Because we find a lot of corporates, the annual report is done, there's not a dedicated person throughout the year for that, oftentimes it's a project, etc. And we've seen that over 70% of our respondents do set goals for those people actually working with the annual report projects. From a practical point of view, we thought it was interesting to know how your peers are handling comments and reviews, anything varying from auditors' feedback to general contributors, anyone needing to make a material change in the document, etc. And we can see that a lot of people are still, in the traditional sense, using emails, PDFs of comments, etc. Sticky notes, interestingly, which you can see a significant amount still sticking to that. Telephone, we've had stories of some agencies where the corporate, they would ring in and spend an hour communicating the change and spend another hour communicating with the project manager what those changes are, and another hour checking to make sure it's done properly. So it's just interesting. We've just started this year, and we're hoping to look at this year and year to see how the trends turn out. And where does the physical work occur? For most of your peers, over 80, well, almost 90% are saying it's still within the organization. Again, we think it's interesting trends because we're looking at feedback coming from other sectors in the market, such as YouGov talking about, how many employees in the UK, 70% looking at more flexible working by 2020, how many of us will be working more remotely. For the annual report production process, a lot of those employers seem to have that project mostly within the organization walls. There might be issues around security with that, but that's another interesting thing we could look at as a follow-up from this study. Contributors to the report. How many contributors internal have input, and people who comment and or provide text? And we can see as much as almost 35%, should say 35% rather, have the 10 to 20 individuals at any given time needing to put a comment in the report. So it's quite onerous a task in terms of managing version controls, and especially reporting for audit committee, etc., who did what when. It's quite interesting. Workload. How much of your yearly workload do you guys spend on your annual report? And a significant proportion spend over 10% within the year with that project. And in terms of talking about the future, looking ahead, we asked the question, do you believe that your annual report process will become more externally or internally focused? Many were saying that will remain unchanged, so as it is now, and a significant amount saying that it will become more internally focused. We also asked about peer perspectives because we've seen that with the EU directives, there's been lots of talk around CSR reporting becoming more and more important, and there's lots of emphasis on that. And for a lot of the corporates responding, they are saying that it will be an increasing interest for them and their peers. That's one to be bearing in mind. And the final bit is, does your organization produce a CSR report, sustainability, or an integrated one? And quite a few said yes within the G4 framework, and interestingly, those who do produce it, but not within a framework at all, and that's almost 60% of those respondents. But the bottom two that said no will be implemented. My image there didn't give you the rest of it, but the first one was saying will be implemented in the next year, and the bottom one is saying no, but it will be implemented in the next financial year for them. And that's pretty much what we found out from what your peers are saying on the corporate reporting process. So in a nutshell, we're seeing that there is more of an interest in the CSR point of view. And as Richard was saying before, you know, how you tell that story is so important. And with Control Print, although we have lots of corporates who use the system, we don't get a chance to actually hear from you what's important to you in the process and what's affecting you. But as we can see here, there's lots of trends coming out of how people are actually managing the practical sides. And earlier we had speakers talk about, you know, mobility, reducing process and ensuring that you get more value add. And we're finding that systems technologically are part of that at the moment. And Control Print also helps you with Gaza Gather to tell that story in a very effective, timely, and accurate way. And I think that's brought me to tea time, Guy, is that? Any questions? I'm happy to take them during the tea break. Thank you.